I am resident of Collinwood Jewel Saints, joined by Christine Pierce and Cara Tillitz for Between the Shadows. We're here to discuss 1795, girls.
Yes, let's go back.
So I have a question for you to start this. With them they go back to 1795, but before they do that, they kill off Dr. Dave Woodard. So how big is Dave Woodard's death leading into 1795?
It's pretty vital.
Yeah, I mean, Dave was literally, he was kind of like the Bill Malloy in this era. He was right there. He figured it out.
Right on the cusp.
And
I mean, yeah, he was there, not even on the cusp.
Barnabas came so close to losing it all.
Yeah.
When he got him,
yeah.
You know, I mean, it was pretty huge, and you know, it messed up Julia too for the longest. I mean, I know Barnabas had a hand in that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
and it was a real shakeup, and then they shook you up even more, drifting into the past.
I mean, with Dave Woodard, Sarah hadn't appeared to Barnabas yet, and when she did, she was so pissed off at him because of what she did to Dave.
Yeah.
She was like, "I like Dave Woodard, and you just." I'll never see you again. You've got to be good.
Yeah.
Like, and this is your punishment.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Because she knew that would hurt him most if she didn't appear to him, and she didn't.
Mm-hmm.
She never did, ever again. So.
Yeah.
What's really interesting too is there's an episode. I think it's 363. It's prior to the seances, and it's prior to them going back, where Julia Hoffman's in the mausoleum, and she hears a woman weeping, and then she hears a wicked woman laughing. I'm thinking, that is really strange.
Yes.
Now, it's not Laura Parker's legendary laugh, but is this possibly the lead up to Angelique, you think?
Possibly.
Yeah, I think so.
Possibly.
I feel like I took it that way.
I mean, the stuff in the mausoleum, it was really hard to tell who was doing that.
There's a lot of ghosts there.
It was like, is it Sarah? Is it Dave? And we didn't even know about Angelique yet.
Yeah.
You know, we knew about a witch, but we didn't suspect her at the time because we really knew nothing about her till we
went back into the past.
But I think certainly that could have been some foreshadowing, you know.
Yeah.
This ain't even the worst that's coming.
Yeah. Kind of get pumped up for what's coming.
Yeah.
So we have this seance. We have Vicky, Roger, Dr. Julia Hoffman. She's the one who insists on it. Elizabeth agrees to it. Barnabas isn't happy it's happening, but he has no choice. He takes part in it too with Carolyn. Carolyn tries to fake the seance, but once Vicky starts going into the trance, I like how he shakes his head no at Carolyn, like, no, just don't. There's nothing we can do.
Yes.
And we have a really interesting situation where you have Victoria who goes back and switches places with Phyllis Wick, who's sitting at the table, and time freezes. What did you think of that when that happened?
That was literally like top 5 moments of the whole show. That one is definitely in the top 5. Like that seance, like that whole seance, like as a whole, like Vicky sounding like a young child, you know, speaking as Sarah Collins.
Yeah.
Like more so than Carolyn, because Carolyn was faking it, you know. And just like the words that Sarah used, she was like, I'll never appear to any one of you again. Like she was that mad, you know, because Carolyn denied her existence. She's like, I showed up to her and she didn't, you know, now she's trying to say I didn't show. And, you know, and then we hear, you know, why do you play with David? And she says, to tell him the story of how it all began. And we're like, what?
Mm-hmm.
And then everything just froze. When Phyllis Wick shows up, the lights go off and everyone just froze. And it was like,
and I feel like we didn't even, like after that 1 second, like we didn't even realize that time had stopped until we got back.
Yeah.
And then after we get back, you're like, okay, was that everything that Phyllis just went through? Like what Vicky lived?
Right.
Like did Phyllis go through that step by step?
Or, I keep asking that question.
Like I still question myself sometimes about it,
but that moment was huge.
Yeah.
It was huge in Dark Shadows. Even after all the supernatural stuff we had dealt with up to that point, that was big. That was the biggest, I think, up to that point at least.
Nothing. They had never had huge results, I think, until that moment from whether it was a seance or magic or whatever it was.
And they did it all without Vicky speaking French.
Right.
Yeah, Vicky does not say one word of French at all.
No.
And now we do hear a bit of French in 1795 from Angelique and Josette, which is cool. It's fun.
Yeah.
What's really interesting is we do get to learn how different this journey is between Alexander's character Victoria and Phyllis Wick's character. It's two different journeys.
Yeah. Yes.
Because what we hear later on coming back is that Phyllis Wick saw Barnabas's coffin go to the mausoleum before she goes to jail.
Right. That's true.
How shocked were you at that because Barnabas admits to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
Right.
Dude.
And that's when the pieces all come together. Is when Barnabas starts talking when we come back, and he's like, she knew. She was there when this happened. She saw this happen, and she knows.
Right. And so he was convinced that Vicky knew too.
Yeah.
But I think that Vicky trading places with her, I think certain things happened to her that didn't happen to Phyllis Wick, which made it butterfly into Vicky's own story.
Yeah.
And I think that includes Peter Bradford, because I'm a romantic, and I don't like to think that Peter Bradford was in love with Phyllis Wick too. But Vicky didn't know Barnabas' secret. She heard from Millicent that he was cursed. But the way Barnabas lets on, Phyllis Wick knew everything. So I don't know.
I know.
I don't know. It's crazy.
Like I said, I still question it to this day sometimes.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I believe something different every time I watch it. Like maybe this, maybe that.
I know. But
still.
I question whether Phyllis Wick really got a trial at all.
Yeah.
Because Vicky, we know Vicky gets a trial.
Mm-hmm.
But Phyllis Wick, I don't think she does, honestly, because why would she? They have to. If they hold a trial and she speaks, she's going to say about Barnabas's coffin. I think she just goes to the gallows.
Yeah,
that could be, and I don't think because Vicky had all of this stuff when she got there, of thinking that she already knew this family,
right.
And I think she made an imprint on the Collinses that Phyllis Wick probably didn't leave, because with Phyllis Wick it was all business.
I was kind of going to say the same thing. But it's like, and just for a lady back in that time, back in the 1700s, it wasn't like a lady to stand up for herself,
right,
and try to defend herself even if she was innocent,
Right.
But Vicky, a girl from the 60s, like she had something to say and to defend herself, and made, like, in a sense, like made them have a trial for her, instead of just falling and accepting.
Yeah, because maybe Peter Bradford didn't even say to Phyllis Wick, "Oh yeah, I'll defend you," but because
she
Vicky
made such
is the one, she was like, "Okay, well, I'll defend you. I'm still working on law, So
It's really interesting too, because the reason Peter Bradford defends Vicky is because the guy who ends up being the judge can't defend her, because she says, I want to tell the truth, because he says that she's from the past to him before the trial. That's what causes him not to defend Vicky.
True.
So that wouldn't be the case for Phyllis Wick. She's not from the past, she's from Boston, for God's sake.
Yeah. Right. You're absolutely right. I didn't think about that. I forgot about the judge that said, "I want to defend you because I hate Trask."
Right.
But because Vicky was like, "Well, I'm from the future," he was like, "Okay, yeah, I can't do that." Well, Phil, that wouldn't have been the case for Phyllis Wick.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
It's like. What did you think of when Vicky's standing there holding the book? So she ends up pulling the book back with her, the Collins family history book, and she's wearing her modern clothes, and she sees the old house all spiffed up, all nice looking, all new looking, and it's the middle of the day. And what did you think of her just standing there and how shocked she looked?
The first thing I was really shocked about is that the book went with her.
Yeah.
It was laying on the table.
Yeah.
That was my first shock. I was like, how did that come with her?
Yeah.
But
we didn't see what happened when the lights went out, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, she screamed and the lights went out. Maybe she latched onto it.
I don't know. Or it's a object of power.
Right.
An OOP
Right.
that just latched itself, to the person of power.
Oh,
That's how I look at it.
No, for sure.
But yeah, as she's standing there, I mean, we see the column one at the time in a light that we've never seen it before.
Right.
Even in color. Like, I'm serious. Like, looking brand new and just,
yeah.
You're like, where am I?
And for Vicky, I don't even think she thought that she traveled back in time. I don't even think that was even on her radar of thinking.
Yeah.
She was just like, where am I?
Yeah. I know where I'm at, but
the fact that she went, 2 centuries before she was even born, it was like, hold on. Like, I don't even think that occurred to her. I don't even think that was even on her radar that it was possible that she could even go back that far. So she's so confused. I'm like
her only question was really, how did I get to the old house?
Right. Like, that was her question.
I was just in the new house.
Why does the old house look different, And
I was just in the old drawing room of the new house.
And when she finds out what happened, she's like, okay. Okay. And I love what happens in the revival series when Vicky goes back. She kind of looks around and she gets just that little bit of hysteria. We're not in Kansas anymore, and that's what I love in the revival series, that she reacts that way, because I think that's how I would react, like just a moment of hysteria while I try to get my bearings and figure out how the hell I traveled 200 years back in time.
Yeah.
But I love the temporal shift, and I love the rift in time that seance created, and the temporal shift between her and Phyllis Wick. Yeah, I love that. I love that so much.
We learned a lot that when she goes to the door and the door opens and there's Barnabas, and she's like, Barnabas. He's looking at her like, who are you?
Oh, that's me. It's like, that's my name. Who are you? But he was so nice about it. It's like, I don't think we've ever had the pleasure of meeting.
It's really shocking, like how she's like, don't joke with me. She's like, what are you wearing? He's like, well, what are you wearing?
What are you wearing?
You look silly. You look silly.
Came showing your knees. I feel like I can't even look at you.
Right.
Yeah, I love it.
It's
like even tone of voice, like just that one. Hello, who are you? It's like
it's completely
totally different Barnabas.
Yeah, completely different from the vampire. He's human, and that was Jonathan Frid's time to shine. It was like, this is my chance.
It really is. This one small chance.
Yes,
I think so.
That was incredible. Like just the difference between Barnabas the vampire, who's been a dick up to this point, and then Barnabas the human, who has no qualms, his only problem right now is Joseph's ship is late, and he's trying to get Sarah down for a nap. Not all this stuff he is dealing with in the present with Dave Woodard and Sarah and David and Julia, and it's just it's amazing. Just that subtle difference in his voice and his mannerisms when we see him as a man before any of this crap went down, Yeah. So yeah.
What did you think of when she gets brought into the house and she starts slowly meeting people, where she starts meeting Lieutenant Nathan Forbes, and she thinks it's Joe Haskell. She's like, Joe. I'm like, oh God. And he's like smiling like, I'm not Joe, but I'll be whoever you want me to be.
Yeah, whatever you want.
I'll be whoever you want. She's like, ew.
That should have tipped us off about Nathan in the very beginning.
Yeah.
I'll be whoever you want to be. It's like, okay, guy.
You set the tone in 5 seconds.
Dial it down just a little bit here, guy. And then gives him one of the firmest looking slap ever, like across the face, like ever.
She's like, you're gonna marry Maggie. And I don't know Maggie.
Wow.
Right?
Oh, no, Maggie, is she hot? Yeah.
I like how trusted Nathan is with a lot of things, because he's asked to read the wedding invitations, and when he's when he starts reading that, you get to hear that Barnabas is going to marry Josette. And this is what shocks, I think, Vicky the most, because when she meets Barnabas's mother, Naomi, she thinks that it's Elizabeth. No, it's not Elizabeth.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really, she has to come to terms that she is not in her time no more.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's like person after person after person. She's like, okay.
And it's not until he reads the date on the invite that she figures out that she's traveled back in time.
Right.
Where the year of our Lord, 1795. She's like, hold on, what?
This isn't that costume party you
and then she passes out. She faints. So
yeah.
So I guess that was a good reaction too, for her just to pass out instead of getting that moment of hysteria.
Right.
But
I need a minute.
Yeah. But
how shocked were Yins to hear that? Because we're all led to believe for years, and that's sort of something too that's really interesting. We don't hear Barnabas and Josette marry, or are to be married. We hear that, well, yeah, oh yeah, Jeremiah and Josette.
Right. We were led to believe they had an affair or something.
Right, we're led to believe that they're the ones who were always meant to be married, and that's what's so shocking, I think, to even Vicky. Like, well, wait, no, they were supposed to be married, and so that's what I think I find most interesting here. That when we hear Barnabas tell that story early on, like where Josette was running from her lover, and they say Jeremiah.
Yeah.
And he he nods his head. It's like, wait, what, were you meeting somebody else there, dude?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Like you start to put a few pieces together, but you never expect that they're the ones that were supposed to be married.
Right.
I mean, it made it sound like he was in love with her, and maybe she didn't reciprocate or something, or maybe they had an affair outside of her and Jeremiah's marriage or something. It just all we know is that Barnabas is obsessed and loves Josette, and will stop at nothing till he gets her or whatever. And bless you. And it's just it was a shock. We're like, wait, Barnabas and Josette are actually married. They're supposed to be married.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was shock number one.
Yeah.
Or shock number two after we realized he was in 1795.
Who's the biggest religious zealot, Abigail or Trask?
Oh God,
tough call.
It is a tough call. My God. Ultimately, I guess I would have to say Trask, because he's the ringleader. He's the one that gets people hyped, gets all people riled up in the first place.
I see. I'm gonna say Abigail, because Abigail was completely gung ho. Didn't have any earthly treasures because she didn't need them. Was loyal to the Lord. I shouldn't say loyal to the Lord. Loyal to her faith. And Trask, there was a lot of, there wasn't a whole lot shady about Abigail. That's just what she believed. That's what she was going with because she felt like it was the right thing to do. But Trask, even in the witchcraft trial, blackmails Nathan Forbes just to get what he wants, not because he feels like it's the right thing, just to get what he wants, to get his fame. Like, we've had discussions about this, to get his fame or to get his notoriety, to do whatever. So I'm gonna say Abigail, simply because I don't feel like she had any shady business going on. She did what she did because it was what she believed it was the right thing.
Yeah, I get it. I get that. Yeah.
My opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I like how he looks too. Jerry Lacey looks when he first comes to the door, when they first open the door, because I kid you not, if you go look up Solomon Kane, it literally looks like the character Solomon Kane.
It does, yeah. Never thought of it. I guess he does.
I mean, he looks really nice and all dressed up, and I'm thinking, like, did they tell you to dress like Solomon Kane?
Yeah, no, he was fantastic, and man, Jerry Lacey killed it. I mean, and we already saw him as Tony Peterson, and it took us a minute to go, oh wait, that's Tony Peterson. But yeah, no, he was fantastic as all of the Trasks, but probably Orville Trask more than any of them. So
Yeah. I like how the fact when he comes in and he's right down to business. He has no problem doing any of it. And it's so shocking too, because it's like, man, this dude's a dick.
He is.
Yes. Straight up.
Straight up.
I tell you what shocked me most with this is when you first meet Angelique, and she's not mean right away.
No.
She tells Barnabas that her ladies coach is delayed a bit, but they'll be along. And I love how it's in black and white too when you first meet Angelique. It's not in color.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one of the most key things with Angelique. Like, it's very, very well paced, 1795, right?
Yes.
With her, how important is it for her to establish her relationship with Barnabas? Because she does.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, oh, Barnabas. I'm thinking, wait, they have a relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bombshell.
How must have they, her and Barnabas, how did they leave it hanging, I wonder, when they first met up? Because she was convinced that they were just going to pick up where they left off. Yeah. Even though she knew that Josette was coming there to marry Barnabas. Where did they leave their relationship when they parted ways, Yeah. Or is she just one of them psychopaths who a few one nights? Well, I don't know. I still don't think it was a one night stand with her. I think it was several. I think it was a full blown affair. Like maybe a full blown relationship, because he didn't think he was going to see Josette again. He wasn't sure how he felt about her. He wasn't sure that she felt the same way about him. And so how did they leave that relationship? How did they leave?
Definitely.
How did they part ways?
Like if Barnabas makes it sound when he's telling Angelique, look, I told you this, I told you that. It's like, but did you really make it clear to her?
Did you make it clear?
Or did you leave her hanging in some way?
Right.
Because
back then everybody had a wife and a mistress. It was normal. So, they did. They had a wife and a mistress.
But I would love to see that story.
Yeah, definitely. That's a backstory. I'd love, like Martinique. I'd love to see that story.
Yeah, go to Martinique.
So
there's a bit of a hint when they mention the duel, and you look at Angelique's face when they're gonna have a duel, and she's like, "Oh God, he can't shoot."
Yeah.
I sort of wonder, because I get the sense that Barnabas, when they were in Martinique, took part in many of the Martinique customs and participated in many of the games, the tribal games, to sort of impress Angelique.
Yeah,
maybe.
That's something I always took away with her facial expression, that's how she knew he couldn't shoot.
Yeah.
Because you don't just have that reaction for no reason.
Right. Right. she probably knew that, and I don't know. I would love to see that story. I would love to see the Martinique story. I'd love to see how they met. I'd love to see how he and Josette met, and I'd love to see how they left the relationship, like how serious their relationship was. Like how did he decide that he actually did love Josette and not Angelique?
And it could change. It could totally change your opinion 100%.
It could,
if we had that little piece of information.
Because Angelique was not an uggo. She wasn't an uggo. She was a beautiful woman. The only thing wrong with her is that she was a maid. She wasn't the princess of a sugar plantation like Josette. So I don't know. That would be. That's one thing I would love to see if they ever bring it back. It's like let's see this. I need answers.
Yeah.
Do you think that perhaps they had made love in Martinique?
Oh yes, definitely. I think they did.
I've always thought that.
I mean, the way she lets on, it seems like they did. I think it was more than just canoodling.
I mean, they got pretty hot and heavy just in her little servants' quarters there for a minute. Like she was, just the way they acted with each other, kind of for me solidified that the deed had been done.
They were boning. Yeah.
Yeah. For real.
Sorry.
I mean that's how I've always took it.
Yeah. I think it happened at least once.
Yeah.
When I was watching this with my wife, she did not sugarcoat this at all.
Really?
She's like, when she watched them interact, she's like, well, you could tell they fucked.
Exactly.
I'm like, wait. I'm like, what are you talking about? She goes, Barnabas and Angelique, you dork. She goes, do you not read their body language there?
Yeah.
She goes, they had a relationship.
Yeah.
I was like, she goes, they got it on. She goes, look how like she's all over him. That's not just for nothing. That's not out of nowhere.
Right.
Yeah.
She was comfortable enough to be all over him.
Yeah.
And again, back to the revival series, when Angelique walks into his room, she's literally, all she's got on is her underwear, and those are falling off too. So,
yeah.
I mean, to be that comfortable with him, I mean, she must have assumed that it was fine. So I think definitely,
bared, sure.
That wasn't something that was, the first time was always like, you're shy. She wasn't shy. She wasn't shy at all,
Unless she's really confident.
Yeah, like either time, like in the 1960 series, she came in, a ghost from your past, shut the door, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think so.
Yeah, I see this.
They did
it. What did you think of young little Sarah? Finally, because when we first meet Sarah, it's as a ghost.
Yeah.
But we get to meet the flesh and blood Sarah Collins.
Yeah. Well, you brought up when we did this segment, when we talked about 1795, you brought up the fact that you thought maybe she was clairvoyant.
Yeah, I kind of always,
because of the drawing that she made of Vicky, and Vicky was still in her knee show and dress, or jacket or skirt. Sorry, I can't.
I still stand by that. I always thought Sarah had a little bit of clairvoyancy. Yeah. And I think that's where it got passed down to David, because I think that about David too. I think that's why spirits and gravitate to him, and he has a bit of an insight, Yeah, I think
he's
Sarah
very sensitive to it.
had the same.
And it's not. I don't think that's totally far fetched, because Collinses have been talking to ghosts for centuries. Yeah. That's not completely it's not at all uncommon for a Collins to talk to ghosts, to talk to to see spirits, to see the future, like Sarah did with Vicky and the drawing that she did, even though her governess was supposed to be Phyllis Wick, but something got changed in time, and she knew what her governess was going to look like. But other than that, I mean, Sarah was carefree and happy, and You know, I love the scene where Naomi's reading a story to her, and she's just looking up at her mother like there is not a thing wrong in the world. Yeah. And I don't know, they did Sarah dirty the way she died. Like, she didn't deserve that at all. But it was because of Barnabas, you know? It wasn't because Sarah did anything wrong. It was because of Barnabas. So, you know?
She draws this dark-haired woman, right? That's sort of what leads her to be the governess. Like, when she shows her that, like, oh, this must be my governess.
Right. Do you think maybe that's why the temporal shift? Because Sarah drew that picture and she's clairvoyant? That's what caused the temporal shift? I don't know. There's a good speculation for you. I don't know.
I think that's the thing too. I think it's Sarah that pulls Vicky back.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, for sure. I think that's sort of what the drawing, I think, is what pulls Vicky back ultimately.
Yeah.
But I do think too, because they really, what really they're doing too, and I'm going to use a wrestling term, they take their biggest baby face at the time, Vicky, to put Barnabas over. They use one baby face to put the other baby face over.
Yeah. That makes sense. I could buy that for sure.
Because who gets put on trial? Vicky. Who helps Vicky? Barnabas initially. Until he decides to get married to Angelique, right?
Yep.
And it doesn't go well after that.
Oh, no. And they never get divorced, so they're just married through the centuries. Yeah. Yeah. Just baffling. I don't. 1795. There was no happy ending. There was no happy ending in sight in 1795. Not for anyone. It was.
Things weren't all that happy, anyways.
Yeah.
You know, it was kind of a hostile environment at times.
Yeah.
With Joshua putting the hammer down on his
iron fist.
Yeah.
How did you like Joshua? Because there's a moment too with him where he realizes, okay, I got this whole Barnabas Josette wedding. It's in the bag.
The bag, yep.
But he turns around, looks at Jeremiah. Oh, you should marry Millicent.
My cousin.
I just laughed at the whole prospect of it, because Joshua wanted Jeremiah to marry Millicent because she had lots of money. So it's like, it didn't matter that they were cousins, you know. I mean, I guess back, like I said, I mean, Queen Victoria married her first cousin, so I mean, it wasn't like completely uncommon and out of the question, but just for the sake of having the money, you know, it didn't matter anything else, you know. You shouldn't marry for love. That's ridiculous. Marry for the money, you know. Yeah. Keep the money in the family.
Like Voldemort trying to keep the bloodline pure.
Right. Like Joshua said to Jeremiah, I can't believe you're ready to let that money, that fortune, that wealth slip through the Collins' fingers. And Jeremiah was like,
it's the Collins' fortune.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And you notice too, Jeremiah wants nothing to do with that one.
No, not at all.
God, no. He was already married, yeah.
He was ready to pack his bags and head out of Collinwood.
He'd already had one marriage. He didn't want to have another, you know?
Yeah, that's sort of your hint too, that he was sort of married before, because he wants nothing to do with that one.
No. Millicent was like, okay, sure.
And it's beautiful too, because Joshua, he's so ready to be the wedding matchmaker and not give a shit. And here's Jeremiah. No.
Yeah.
There's nothing was for love. Nothing was for genuinity. It was just business.
Yeah, business and family honor. Business and family honor.
Yeah.
I like
nothing else.
Like if it didn't line up with that, it wasn't even on his radar, you know.
Yeah.
But,
how stunning, literally. I love the fact how they make Joan Bennett look in this. They make her literally look like a completely different person.
They do. I think she was made for this period, to be honest. Joan Bennett,
yeah.
She was beautiful. I mean, now Liz is pretty friggin' regal, but then you've got Naomi Collins, who is like the most regal of them all. I think she's probably my favorite Joan Bennett character, and I love Elizabeth, but I love Naomi, and I love how perfect and like I don't know, I can't even explain it, but she.
Well, and I kind of mentioned it before. It's like, again, ladies back in those centuries, 1700s and stuff, didn't have any. There
were no place in place.
She spoke up.
Yeah.
She made sure she put out there how she felt, and she didn't shut up. Like she had something to say, and she stood up for herself and her family.
She's another whose backstory I would like to know. Yeah. I'd like to know where Naomi Collins. What was her maiden name before she became Mrs. Joshua Collins? Like where?
I mean, we get all these little kind of stories. Like what was that? Like she was with, like all of her adventures before she married Joshua.
I don't know.
Was that? I'm thinking of somebody else. Probably.
I don't know. I mean, we speculated, but I don't think there's any.
There's no solid.
There's no real backstory for her.
Yeah.
And I would love to see it because no woman, speaks up in that time unless they've got quite a history.
Yeah. So she had a backbone, and that was rare.
And that's the thing too. She does not take any shit to the point of. I like how when Jerry Lacey's character is, she goes, "Oh, I dare you to speak to me like that."
You like that? I dare you.
Oh yeah, that was incredible. I loved it.
Hit me back! I dare you.
I like it too. It's really how for the fact that they do like it, because they don't make her this character that takes anything. But I do like the fact too that they have her character drink.
Yeah.
Because it sort of makes you feel like, well, wait a second, you're drinking a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's just how she deals with this family and deals with Joshua to keep from killing him, Because I think Joshua drives her insane, and and more often than not sides with his sister more than her, and.
But what I love is that she'll still have that drink in hand while she's telling Joshua, "This is why I drink."
Yeah,
because this and this and this. So shut up. It's like, no.
Yeah.
It makes she feels guilty, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's sort of what it makes me think too, that she feels guilty about something. Because, and I'll tell you why I always felt that way. Because there's a character too named not in Dark Shadows, but there's a character in a Western I watched earlier where he's smoking a cigarette because he feels guilty. He will not feels guilty about what he does. He's smoking a cigarette every time he kills somebody. Yeah. I'm like, dude, you're crazy. But because though Joan's character doesn't kill anybody, she's always hitting the bottle to the degree she feels guilty about something. I'm thinking, what do you feel guilty about? For what? For Joshua? He's a dick.
Yeah. That's not your problem, sister. It's not your problem at all.
Yeah.
That's sort of why I always got the sense. I'm thinking, I don't ever think she really wanted to marry Joshua.
No, from the looks of it, I don't think so either.
I mean, that's obviously an arranged marriage.
Yeah. But at the tail end of her life, she told Joshua she loved him.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
And it took him too late to realize that he probably did love her too, but he waited too late to figure it out.
But ultimately, Joshua's inability to love anybody, including his kid, is what saved him from the curse.
Yeah,
that's why he was the only one left standing at the end of it all.
It is.
And man,
there's something really weird too, because it's really weird what happens to, and there's oh my God, this is crazy, right? Because here's my thing. There's a moment, right? And I don't get why the writers do this. They don't use Anthony Davis, or sorry, not Anthony Davis, Scott. They don't use God, what's his name? The guy who replaces Burt Devlin, right?
Anthony George.
Anthony George, sorry, yeah.
You're good.
They don't use his voice in the thing. They don't use his voice to fool Barnabas.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't get it.
Why?
I know why.
I mean, Jeremiah's ghost, like not the one that met Barnabas on the road or whatever. Like the ghost of Jeremiah was actually Dr. Lane.
Yeah.
I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah, you told me that. Yeah.
But why wouldn't you use Anthony George? That was Jeremiah. And I'll say this: I think that Anthony George was the better pick for Jeremiah than Mitch Ryan.
The switch came at just the right time.
Like it came just at the right time because
intentional or not, it came at the right time because he portrayed Jeremiah in a way that I don't think Mitch Ryan could have.
Yeah.
But Mitch Ryan was the perfect Burt Devlin.
I agree.
Like, it was perfect. I think. But
I agree. I sort of wonder why they didn't do it.
Yeah.
I'm thinking if your end game is to literally make, because here's the thing too. When you listen to Jonathan Frid during that whole process, he even says, "You're not Jeremiah."
Like, how can you fool me? I mean, you're not. It's like, who are you? Yeah, that baffles me. I have no idea, and I don't even have any speculation on that. It's like, were you sleeping on the job that day to just do a rush job or what? I just don't know. There's no good reason for it, you know.
My only guess to it is it's the point of, and I hate to use this as an excuse, right? This is the point of, it's all the more reason of what happens later. Because what's Barnabas keep doing? This is the reason he figures it out, right? Of her being a witch. Because it's like, it doesn't sound like him.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. It's like, it says it was Jeremiah, but I know damn good and well it wasn't. When he's telling Andre to pray about what happened on the road, when he goes looking for them, you know, and he was like, he said he was Jeremiah, but I know he wasn't. You know?
That's the only thing I can figure, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh my goodness. Right.
I know. Are any of these writers still alive so that we can ask them what y'all were thinking?
I do think to the point though too, if you're Angelique, it's like, that ain't too good. But to her, it's like, it's good enough. Oh yes. Yay! Oh God. All right, sorry.
It's okay. It's a good question. I just wish I had a good answer, and I don't.
Okay, oh God, I forgot.
Oh, it's okay.
It'll come to you.
Next question. No.
Here's my thing for you guys, for you both. Sorry. Okay. Sorry, crap, I forgot. No.
Jewel.
Sorry, I gotta take a breath. Sorry. Sorry. No, I get. I got it.
Okay.
Who's your favorite? for this. Who between? No, wait. Sorry. I forgot.
Becca.
How good was it? Because I like one thing. There's something I like. I hate to say this. I love Angelique's wedding.
Yeah. Okay.
Her wedding.
Her wedding, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks so good.
Yeah. It looked natural. I don't know. I think I don't know if this was intentional, but when they finally did it, while, the minister was there, Jeremiah wasn't antagonizing her anymore. When they got to the wedding and they did the deed, she was wearing Josette's wedding dress.
Oh my gosh.
Like maybe not her dress, but like one that Josette had worn.
Yeah.
And that just like it put it all in a nutshell. She was wearing Josette's dress. She got Josette's man. She got Josette's house. She got, Josette's approval or Naomi's approval for Josette. Like everything that she wanted from Josette, she got, and it was all summed up in that scene, you know. But it was pretty. It was very simple, very, very elegant because the dress looked great on her. Barnabas looked great, and and he knew what he was doing. Even if he didn't love her, he was gonna try. But it was.
He's a man of his word.
Yeah, he was a man of his word, which gave me a little more respect for him, even though obviously Barnabas was a player. But and it warmed me that Naomi was there to support her
future daughter-in-law.
Her future daughter-in-law.
I do like how the fact that too, it really looks good, right?
Yeah.
Because I like the fact that they do this because I like how what they do for her is they make Joan Bennett even look better because what does she do? She supports the marriage.
Yes.
Yes. I do like the fact too what they do with before this, prior to all the wedding, before all the other thing they do prior to this is, I'm thinking, well, wait a second. They don't. I like how Joshua. Oh, you don't need to marry her. Yes, I do.
Right. I'll even pay you off not to marry.
Yes.
The lengths that Joshua went to get his way. That's basically all it boils down to.
Yeah.
The lengths that he went to get his way. Tried to pay off Angelique, and she ended up getting the money anyway. Like even after he died, he was like, okay, I'm going to offer you the same money again to get out, to leave town, to leave this house, to leave this property. I don't want to see your face ever again. And she does end up taking the money. She's like, no, a little more, please. And I don't know. I don't know.
I know.
It's like, I get that you have morals and I get that you have family honor and you want to uphold that and everything, but at some point you have to say enough, but
that's the thing too, right? Because I like what Angelique does because it's like, no.
Yeah.
I like the fact too, when this whole thing's going on with her, with Angelique, she's like, oh crap, I forgot. I cursed Barnabas. He's going to kill me.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
No, sorry. There's a moment too where, who was it?
Jewel, oh my goodness.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Take your time. We got nowhere to. She just went to get her water. She got nowhere to be either.
Okay, I'm back.
No, I'm sorry.
Okay.
1795.
Sorry.
Oh, it's all good. I'm trying to like timeline this. I'm like, okay, what next?
No, I'm sorry. Here's a great question for you, Beth.
Okay.
And now I'm gonna start all over.
Okay.
Sorry. with Angelique, right? Before the vet. Sorry, no. No, wait, sorry. Catherine Lee Scott, right? No. I like how the fact Anthony George refuses Josette.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, absolutely not.
That
he did everything in his power to get away or push away, like, and refuse this. He did everything he could until Angelique had to use the curse.
Yeah, because yeah. Like Angelique's original spell on Josette wasn't that they would fall in love. It was just that Josette would go after Jeremiah, hoping that Jeremiah would tell Barnabas, hey, your lady's after me. She's not all who she says she is. Yeah. And then when that doesn't work, because Jeremiah loves Barnabas so much that he doesn't want to hurt him, you know, Angelique was like, oh, crap. So she does the spell where they fall in love. Yeah. Like, she has to keep casting the spell because it keeps not working, you know? I mean, eventually it does work, but she has to keep putting the spell on them. And, like, even when they're canoodling together and Natalie sees them, you know, like, they come to their senses, and then she has to cast the spell again. And then they come to their senses and she has to cast the spell again. And she casts it just long enough for them to get married. And then they stop loving each other. Well, it doesn't matter. They're married now.
Like, even at the hotel after they get married, they're like, this doesn't feel right.
Yeah, it doesn't feel right. What are we doing? How could we do what we did? And then when they get home, they're like, honeymoon is completely over. Yep. Like Jeremiah, she was like, you're so cold to me. He was like, yeah, I don't know why we did this. You know, we have to go in and face what we did.
I didn't want to do this, and I don't know why I did.
It's like, did we really love each other? You know, and
yeah, I like the fact too when Josette comes into Jeremiah's room and he's like, no, you're gonna marry Barnabas. No,
you love Barnabas.
Yeah. I love that because it makes you all the more I love how the writers do this too, because later on, way later on, in 1897, when they're tying in the Phoenix, it makes all the more sense, right?
Right. Yes. Right.
I love that. It's so good because I'm thinking, wait, why? Because that's the one thing I always found strange too. I'm thinking, when Josh was pushing whole, oh, you should marry Millicent, and Jeremiah was like, oh God, I'm going to choke my brother. I think, well, wait a second, because the one thing I found strange, I'm thinking, wait a minute, there's a reason why Jeremiah doesn't want to get married.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, but when the writers come back to it, they tie it in. They go, nope, he never wanted to be married because why? He was already married once.
Yeah. He did it once, and that's all he wanted to do. Yeah. And shame on Joshua for wanting to make him do it again. Yeah. You know, especially during that era where, you know, unless they were dead, and they didn't say that Laura died. You know, they didn't say that Laura had died when she was married to Jeremiah.
No.
So
they just aren't married anymore.
She just no explanation. I don't know.
And again, it's one of those things in the Collins family history that just got written a different way.
Yeah, exactly.
Or skimmed over, period.
Yeah.
Nobody was a better cat than Joshua.
Nobody was a better cat.
My favorite cat.
I think my favorite part about him being a cat was Ben's laugh when he actually became a cat.
Oh my God.
Like, he was just so satisfied with that.
Was never more happy.
Poor Ben.
My favorite part too was when Ben Stokes is like, when Angelique's getting together the whole herbs thing about, we'll make him a cat, and Ben Stokes like, let's make him a jackass instead.
Let's make him a jackass. Oh, Ben.
That was great.
I'm like, Ben Stokes like, I'll take that jackass in the back. And I'm thinking, what?
Yeah. Jeez.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that Ben let the cat live, honestly.
Yeah.
I like how shocked Angelique is saying about when Ben's like, I want to take him out back. And she's like, Ben, what about the jackass part? I'm like, Even Angelique shocked at that.
I know, even she had to laugh at that one. That was pretty good.
Yeah.
But I love Sarah Davis' performance as Ben Stokes, right? How underrated is it?
So underrated. Ben was so underrated, so underappreciated. Yeah. And Thayer David's performance, goodness, was incredible as Ben.
It's like in everything we ever wanted for Ben. I'm happy that when Timothy Elliott Stokes came on the scene, he gave us a short little of the rest of Ben's life, and I was so happy.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But at that point, Barnabas had no idea.
Yeah,
that his dad had upheld his last wish for Ben to set him free and let him go and let him live his life. And Barnabas didn't know until 1966 when Timothy Elliott Stokes told him that.
Yeah,
he's like, "Oh my God, my dad really did it."
Yeah, and Ben got to live a good life. Yeah. After Barnabas went to the mausoleum,
it's like just watching Barnabas while Stokes is telling him that, like you could just see it on Barnes' face, like the relief and the proud,
And I think after that, the thing I loved more than that was when they went back to 1840 one last time, and there's Ben Stokes as an old man.
That's right.
And Barnabas gets to see him one more time.
That's right.
Oh man,
stop it.
Ben Stokes, I love him. I love it.
Love Ben Stokes.
I love the constant, the picking, the jabbing at Angelique when things don't quite go her way. Yeah. And she's like, "You better stop." And he was like, "Doesn't feel so good, does it?" Because he's under her power, but when it doesn't go her way, he's able to pick on her for it. And I think he just enjoys it.
He's like, "What are you going to do to me? Who else is going to do this for you?"
It's like, well, what more could you do to me? I already can't say your name when I'm talking about witchcraft. And I have to do anything you say anyway, so let me have this. Yeah. So, Ben was great.
I like too when Lieutenant Forbes is taking food to Vicky. Prior to that, Angelique comes out of the servants' quarters. I'm thinking, oh God. And then he's like, he goes, "Oh yeah, no, this isn't for nobody." I'm like, oh my God.
I'm going to a picnic by myself. But if you'd like to join me,
I'm like, dude, can you not think of a better lie?
Totally. You get a picnic.
Right. But no, and then Angelique, she sees right through it. When she's like, "Oh, it was," I was like, "Oh, you bitch." But no, she
was a brilliant girl. She was very smart,
very brilliant. Yeah,
she just got a little blind when it came to her emotions.
But I think she knew, because I think she put herself in this position a while ago. But being in the servant's position is the most incognito position to be in.
Oh yeah,
to do the dirty shit.
Because as long as you're doing your job, they don't pay attention to you.
No. It's the best place for her to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
What we find out later is, because a lot of things do change later on. Because I always got the sense Angelique was born a witch, but later on we're going to find out she was made a witch, right?
Right.
Which do you two prefer with Angelique?
As far as what?
Or sorry, born a witch or made a witch?
Made a witch. I've always believed she was made a witch.
I think she was made a witch, but I think it was in her blood. I think that witchcraft was in her blood, because we learned that her mother was a healer with herbs and teas and stuff, and she was Natalie's servant for a while. And so I don't know that, I think Angelique was probably like made a witch, but I think she knew about it long before then. And I think she tinkered long before then, because it was in her blood.
If that's the case, then yeah, being born a witch, I would agree with that as well.
I mean, she wasn't like dubbed, ordained a child of the devil until Gina Zachary. But I think as far as the witchcraft goes, I honestly don't think there was probably a choice in the matter for her because of her mother, because her mother was a witch. So
Good point.
Not coming out of the womb saying, I curse you, Barnabas Collins, but maybe just born into witchcraft.
But we do know at some point it's obvious that she did have that ceremony or whatever you want to say, that she was dubbed.
Yeah.
Because she's like, if it's not Nicholas, she seems like Satan's right hand.
Yeah.
Like it's between. I think that's the big beef between her and Nicholas.
Before she met Barnabas, she was probably a very powerful witch.
Yeah. I think she did have that ceremony of selling her soul at some point, and becoming the true witch that she is.
Yeah,
that's what I think.
Agreed. Yeah. What do you think, Joel?
I like how the writers handled this in the end, because when the series, they explain the mom, right, with the healer. I like that. But later on, when she curses Barnabas, the whole, I put a curse on you, Barnabas Collins. I love that.
Yes.
And then later on, when she comes to realization, she's trying to save Barnabas's ass from not dying. I'm thinking, girl, you messed up so bad.
True.
But I love the fact that when they do the whole Judah Zachary thing, because it made all the sense in the world.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, who better to put Angelique under a spell than a warlock?
Yes,
of course,
completely.
Of course.
Than an evil warlock. Sorry.
Man.
Where there was Nicholas Blair, there was Judah Zachary.
Yep. It's true.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we've seen. That's the thing too. We've seen so many entities. We've seen Judah Zachary. Prior to that, we saw Petofe.
Yeah.
So here's Judah Zachary. He curses Angelique to be this witch during a trial, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he puts her under a spell. And it makes all the sense. And it makes it all the more heartbreaking when you find out later that because I know this isn't part of 1795, but when Angelique really dies in 1840, and it's so heartbreaking.
It really is.
I was like, now, really? Now?
Yeah. They're both human, and
oh my God.
all the crap that they, all the fighting and the battle between them, and all the witchcraft and all the vampirism and all of the scheming, and then just to find out, at the very end, they're both cured of their affliction, or Angelique rather was stripped of her curse, but both cured of their curses, and finally at a place where the fighting has ended, they've made amends, and Barnabas realizes, I've been fighting with her because I love her all this time, and then bam.
Yeah, what a time to find out.
Takes a
that killed me. I was like, really?
Yeah.
I wanted to at times I do like Angelique.
Oh yeah,
I do.
She's fantastic.
But man, like all this time for her to get her crap together.
I know.
Part of it too. It's like, oh, they're just trying to kill you.
Took you 5 long years to figure it out.
I know, but it's so tragic. Tragic.
Yeah.
I like how they bring in this old woman to try to save Barnabas.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's like, it's so good because you slowly watch this woman be taken apart by
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's like, guess what? Not gonna work.
Yeah. Yep. But she's not without her power. She's not without. She's not like a total loser. I mean, like she knew the nature of Barnabas's curse before he even opened his mouth to say it. So I mean, she wasn't without her her power, as a witch. But she had no chance, and she knew that if any little thing went wrong, this was gonna kill her. This was gonna mean her life.
Yeah.
And the one thing that went wrong was the exact thing she said I cannot be interrupted. I cannot, because if I am, I'm gonna die. And Naomi, knock, 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 and there goes her concentration and up in flames.
She almost had it. Dude.
She almost had it.
Yeah,
I mean, she gave Angelique a run for her money, but in the end, Angelique did win. But
I like how Barnabas is like choke when he's choking Angelique.
Yeah.
I love how. Oh, sorry. The gosh, Peter Bradford.
Yeah. So noble. so noble. So
what? It wasn't as extreme as the Joe Haskell Knight in Shining Armor.
No, and it wasn't, and not as bad as some of Peter's endeavors either, or some of Jeff Clark. Sorry,
Jeff.
Like we know the connection between Jeff and Peter. We know, but as far as him being Peter, I don't know. He was tough and he didn't take anybody's crap, but he wasn't like over the top like I felt like Joe Haskell was at times.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It felt like a happy ending in the end, and then we find out it totally wasn't.
Yeah. Again, it's so tragic.
It's like I'm trying to think of any happy ending that happened on this show, and I can't think of any.
Well, I guess if Vicky got to go back into the past with Peter eventually, I guess that was that happy ending for that.
But I mean, even that. I mean, according to Jeb Hawks, that ended tragically too.
I guess
so. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, here's a question for you, Beth.
Okay.
Is there a parallel time Victoria Winters?
Is there a parallel Vicky Winters?
I don't see why not.
Maybe.
Honest, I don't see why not.
I don't. Who's to say that our Vicky Winters isn't a parallel Vicky Winters?
Well,
True.
Because I know that we all talked about this briefly. That the ground on which Collinwood sits is cursed, and it could be a hellmouth, and Vicky Winters could have come through that alternate room in the West Wing, and she could, or the East Wing, and could be a parallel Vicky.
Yeah.
That wherever our Vicky is, maybe she did end up in 1795, and then the lines got switched or something. We could speculate all night.
I mean, it's not just the Collinses. Julia had a parallel Julia.
Yeah. It's like you said when we were doing the podcast with Penny Dreadful. It's like if that room was there, when they discovered it, we have to believe it was always there.
Yes.
Even when the house was built.
Yes.
So I mean, how many of our characters aren't our actual characters?
Yeah. It's like David Lynch's world. It's like, whose dream are we really in?
Yeah.
Who really belongs where?
So to answer, short answer after all of that, short answer is yes. I think that there is a parallel Vicky.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
So.
Yeah. She could have just as easily approached that room in the East Wing.
Absolutely.
And saw her own self.
Absolutely.
Or her real self, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah.
Just as easily. Yeah.
I like how Barnabas, when he's walling up before he walls up Trask, how he does everything to mess with Trask.
Oh yeah.
Before walling him up.
Antagonize until the very end.
It's like, oh yeah, I'm not gonna kill you. Write a letter. Oh, certainly. Now you're gonna die.
Now get in there.
What more can I do to mess with Trask? Anything I want to.
Anything I want to.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I get that he did Vicky wrong. I get that Trask really did Vicky wrong. And Barnabas was ready to make him pay for that, for Vicky.
Yeah.
I mean, even in his feral vampire state, a creature of evil who didn't really have a whole lot of human feeling anymore, but still did that for Vicky,
And in 1795.
And in 1795.
1966.
Yeah.
He felt the same way. Ended up feeling the same way for this woman.
Yeah.
That he did 200 years later.
Yeah.
It says something. It says a lot. And I think you even mentioned it to that extent, to an extent. He loved Vicky. He was more in love, genuinely in love, and loved her, Vicky, more, I believe, than Josette in the very end.
I agree.
I just think I think their souls were just more connected.
I agree.
And I mean, Barnabas even said that. It's like, I feel like I've known you for years.
Yeah.
You have the same soul as mine at times. It goes.
I mean,
it was just wild to see him feel the same exact way 200 years earlier.
Even Angelique saw it when they were married, and she figured out that right after they were married, she figured out that Barnabas was harboring Victoria.
Yes.
And got all jealous. Like, she's like, "You're hiding that girl," and here he was like, "Are you jealous?" And do I have a reason to be jealous? The question, like, even Angelique saw it, and it was like, even then, he was fond of Vicky, and never stopped being fond of her, never stopped doing for her. Once he got past, trying to make her Josette in the present day, even when he tried to bite her, he couldn't do it because he genuinely loved her, cared for her, didn't want any harm to come to her, and that never went away. Yeah. Even when she escaped back into the past, the second time, he went back to save her, and I don't know. That's a love that I feel like that was a lost love that we never got to experience, but I felt like could have been one little happy ending we could have had on Dark Shadows.
Could have been. It could have been. If they would have never ran over Jeff Clark.
I know.
There could have been a happy ending.
Jeff Clark put his nose in where it didn't belong.
I'm serious. They would have just left.
That was a very long-winded answer, but
we'll take it.
I hope that answers the point a little bit.
After all the messing up this host did today.
Jill, you're perfect. Don't even trip.
Oh my God. But here's the thing too. I think with Angelique, the fact that when Angelique actually dies, and Barnabas is heartbroken, right? Patrick McRae brought up something, our mutual friend. With knowing everything he knows, does Barnabas go back and tell Angelique what really happened? Does he use the I Ching wands when he gets back to regular time? Mm-hmm. When he goes back with Julia and Stokes, does he then use the I Ching wand to go back to 1795 and say, "Screw it," and live life with Angelique?
Because we didn't see what happened after they got back to the present. Like, everything. Collinwood was fine. We never got an epilogue on that.
No, we didn't.
So that is once he realized he loved Angelique and knew he could time travel, like, the staircase was destroyed. He had Willie Loomis's character. I cannot remember his name for the life of me in 1840.
I always think Desmond.
Desmond. Thank you.
It
was
Desmond.
Wow. He had Desmond destroy the staircase, so we knew that they weren't going to go back that way. But he could go back via I Ching. And so, yeah, I do think that he could have, that's a possibility. Yeah. What if he did go back and tell Angelique, be like, you know what, Josette, you go ahead and marry Jeremiah. Go ahead. Because now that I know what I know, this is going to be all right,
God, can you imagine?
But they were two completely different people back then, Yeah. And Angelique didn't even, like, when Angelique died, that point in Angelique's life, she didn't even know the half of what they were even going to go through. Yeah. It was kind of like a paradox thing,
Yeah. I guess my only thing is, Angelique, I believe through the whole series, she's one person jumping through time. So, like, if she actually died, could he go back and she still be there?
Yeah.
That's my only issue.
That's true.
Because she is taking herself out of these time periods.
You're right.
And jumping.
You're right.
So is she there? If he were to go back, would she be there?
There were two. Hold on. I'm thinking. because 1795 and 1840, she went back to see if Barnabas was still there in that coffin.
Yeah.
She came in and she had come back once like every decade or something to see if he was there. And that was a point of Angelique, because she had died because Barnabas killed her. So this was probably another Angelique that was kind of familiar to 1795, because when she found him, she didn't know who Julia was. She didn't know who Quentin Collins in 1897 was. It's true. So I do believe you're right. I do believe you're right. If he had gone back in time, would she still be there? Yeah. So he might have to travel through time looking for her. Ew.
Oh my God, like Doctor Who.
Yes, Doctor Who.
But Barnabas is gonna keep going back until he finds the right one.
Right.
Then Julia like,
the old man Barnabas before he finds him.
Oh my gosh.
And then Julia Hoffman's gonna be like, no, Barnabas, no.
Stop. Stay here. Meanwhile, there's Julia, who genuinely loves Barnabas.
Oh my God, this poor woman.
Right.
Poor woman.
Oh my God.
That is a whole other ballgame, though.
Yes, it is.
We're going to hell for making the fans have a headache.
I know. We do this for y'all. Shut up.
No, I'm kidding. Here's the thing, too. I sort of wonder after this, because the series does end with them walking out the door and Barnabas is not a vampire anymore, right?
Right.
And me and my buddy John Philip Bencourt, we were asking, okay, what happens with, because here's a question for you both. What happens between Julia and Dr. Hoffman after the series ends?
What happens between Julia and Barnabas?
Yeah.
Does
Julia go back to Wincliffe? Does Barnabas?
Well, I think about the epilogue. Is that what they call it? At the end of the very show that they gave us, didn't they give us a little snippet?
I mean, they did for sure.
Didn't they finally? Is that what they said?
Well, yeah. After a whole bunch of crap went down, but like Julia, like in what they released on the disc set, whatever, was that Julia continued to love Barnabas. Julia continued to be Julia. And Barnabas finally was like, okay, Barnabas got really sick. Barnabas got sick with something, the fever or something, and like came near to death. And he told Julia, if I live through this, then I'm going to marry you because you've taken care of me and I'm stupid not to realize. Well, then Julia gets sick. And then finally they get well and escape to wherever and get married. So
I'll give you the best fan. Read John Philip Bencourt's Return of Dark Shadow.
Okay.
And I think you'll like what our good friend John Philip Bencourt does.
Okay.
John, buddy, I love you. It's awesome.
Okay. No, I'm down. I love it. I love it. No, I'm down.
It's really awesome.
I like to think that they remain friends. I like to think that they remain close, simply because of all the crap they went through.
I agree. I feel like that's a bond that could never.
I like to think that they wouldn't separate after that.
Even in the depths, like the hardcore, like when they were at odds with each other, and they were like, I hate each other. Like,
yeah.
Even through all that, like there's a bond, and like you said, they've been through so much that I don't think.
Yeah.
Even if they didn't get married, even if nothing ever became of it, I still like to think that they remain tight.
Absolutely.
I don't know.
I would expect no less if it was up to me.
We've discussed 1795. The host here messed up. It's okay. Is there anything you want to add before we go?
Anything we didn't cover?
I don't think so. We already know what a douchebag Nathan Forbes is and what he did to us.
He deserved everything he got.
Everything he got, he deserved. Otherwise, I don't think so. I don't think so.
Except the one thing we didn't really mention was when Angelique showed her ass back up in the courtroom. Yeah. That was so shocking. I about crap myself.
And
I'm not
left as
joking.
quickly as she came.
Yes. And everybody.
She disappears.
Yeah.
She disappears.
She showed up just to mess up the trial.
And poor Ben. He was like, "You're dead. I saw you die. This and that."
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Such a shame.
Crazy.
Such a shame.
And just because of that one show up, it threw everything out the door.
Yeah.
Everything out the door.
That trial was the most
Vicky
frustrating
almost
trial.
had it in the bag.
Yeah.
And she showed up and it threw everything out the door. So, it's sick.
Somebody needed to send our buddy Solomon Kane a telegram. Take care of Angelique.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, agreed.
Other than that, yeah.
And if you haven't seen the Solomon Kane movie, it is a great movie.
Watch it.
100%. Absolutely.
Yes.
It has no Angelique, it has no Barnabas, but it is a great movie.
Watch
For Christine Pierce, for Cara Tillitz, I'm Joel Saints. You ladies are awesome. Link to their channel is going to be in the description box. We're going to get together again.
Yes, we love you, Joel. Anytime.
I want to come on you guys' channel and talk the widows of Widows Hill.
Yes, definitely.
Yes.
It's in the works. Don't worry.
Right. I'll see you guys another time.
Yes.
See you later.
See you later, Joel. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.